Yes, I know I've been saying it for the longest time that the electric evolution is coming. And yes, it is coming in India at an extremely fast pace. The only manufacturer that I see in India really working towards this is Tata. And this, the Tata Tiago.ev, is their latest offering. Let's see what this has to offer. Now when you begin at the front, what you clearly see is no grille because it doesn't need one. But what it has instead is a nice plastic element here that is finished in piano black. More importantly, most EVs that Tata have this unique green element here or a blue element depending on what you look at. They have the nice EV badging here. You have the LED DRLs here with fog lights and another nice small grille that is here for cooling purposes obviously. Other than that, the front looks very nice, just like the Tiago. Now let's move to the side. Now when you move to the side, things again are very similar to its ICE sibling, apart from the fact that the 14-inch alloys are not really alloys. These are plastic and they have a nice alloy underneath. When you move on to the side, what the first thing that catches your eye is the EV badge that is on the side. That is a very clear distinctive that this is an electric vehicle. You have painted black OVRMs, which are electronic control obviously. You have a black roof and the overall side profile does look very nice and very attractive. Something that I liked about the Tiago to begin with. Another talking point is this tropical mist color that is exclusive to the EV range. Now let's move to the rear. Now on the rear, yes, there is no changes per se, but the biggest change that I've noticed is the nice Tiago badge that you have here and the EV badge that's here. Okay, another thing that Tata mentions is that this boot is now electronically operated. Obviously, just the electronic button, not the electronic operation in general, and no exhaust because this is an electric vehicle after all. So the overall design is very nice, it is very compact, but it looks very stylish and masculine, something that I like about the Tiago. Now let's move to the interiors. Now before we move inside, a very important talking point for any electric vehicle is its charging capabilities. Now this has 4 different options. What you see behind me is the optional 7.2 kilowatt hour charger, which takes around 3 to 4 hours to charge the car from 10 to 80%. If you use a DC fast charger, this charges in just 50 minutes, but obviously 10 to 80%. And you also have the option of the charger that is in the car that can use like a normal wall plug or like an industrial type plug, which takes around 6 to 8 hours. If you want to see how this car charges, I'll just show you. And this is how you use the 7.2 kilowatt hour home charger that you can install. Step inside the Tiago.ev and yes, it does resemble its ICE sibling, but it has unique elements such as this nice steel element on the AC vents, and you have this nice plush leatherette seats that are actually very comfortable. But the only drawback is that they are white in color, which is going to be a hassle when you live in India because maintaining them is going to be a pain. Other than that, when you look at the interiors, I actually like the interiors quite a bit. You have this nice rotary dial here for the controls to move forward and backwards, and you have automatic climate control. I don't understand why Tata doesn't have the display here, and it actually comes in your Harman system, which is quite a hassle if you ask me. Other than that, the 8-speaker system is fantastic. The seat is actually very comfortable. You have a nice driving position, and this can be adjusted to make yourself more comfortable in the front. The same can't be said about the rear door because I feel that the space in the rear is pretty cramped. Now let's move to the back. Now, while the space in the front is extremely generous and very comforting, the same can't be said about the rear because yes, I do have very slight knee room and decent amount of headroom. I'm not going to be very comfortable on long journeys because very honestly, I'll much rather be sitting in the front, and long journeys is not something that I want to do with an electric car because this range is dicey, which you'll know about later on. Nonetheless, what I'm really impressed about is the fact that the feel of plastics, the use of plastics, yes, Tata has actually worked a lot on the interior build quality and it doesn't feel very plasticky because for this price point, I'm not expecting like a lot of leather everywhere, but the plastic feels nice to feel and touch and everything feels very well built. So as an overall, the exterior and interior both are very attractive and very appealing for the Tiago.ev. Now powering the Tata Tiago.ev are 2 battery options. You have a 24 kWh battery pack and you have a 19.2 kWh battery pack. Now in the 24 kWh battery pack, it produces around 74 bhp and 114 Nm of torque, but more importantly, it has an ARAI certified range of 315 kilometers. Now I am driving the 24 kWh battery pack. When I picked up the car in the morning, it showed me a range of around 270-280 kilometers and 99% of charge. And I've driven the car for around 70 kilometers and the range has now come down to 57% and 96 kilometers left, which does mean that this certainly has some sort of battery depletion. Now yes, when I do switch on the air conditioning, the range will improve, but very marginally. And for people who are looking to buy a new car, which most people would be with the EV segment, they would be slightly concerned with the range anxiety that this car has to offer. Other than that, if you look at the car as a whole, okay, let me be very clear here that I have not been driving the car really harshly, and I've been driving it very smoothly, mostly in the normal drive. I've not put it in sport yet a lot of times. And speaking of sport, this can do 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds in sport. Yeah, like I was mentioning, that I haven't put the car in sport so far, and I'm still facing this range depletion. So that is something that you need to be mindful of when you're buying this car. Other than that, while I was on the twisty roads of Goa, what I actually really enjoyed is the driving dynamics of this vehicle, because the suspension is slightly stiffer, which is not a major inconvenience for most people. It could be a very minor thing, but what you really appreciate is the driving dynamics of this vehicle, because the steering is pretty bang on. The steering feedback has a good amount of feedback actually. The tires grip pretty well, and when you're chucking it in corners, it does hold its corners very well. Now, when I was saying the suspension is slightly stiffer, yes, it has to be, because it is obviously carrying the additional weight of the battery pack. But like I said, it's a very minor inconvenience, it's not something major. But yeah, people who are living in Bombay or people who live in places where the roads are pretty bad, that could be a slight hassle for you guys. Other than that, what's really impressive is the brakes. Yes, it has a good amount of brakes. When you actually press the brake has a decent amount of feedback, and more importantly, it stops on a dime if you need to. Other than that, you also have the fact of regenerative braking with 4 modes. You can switch it off entirely, or you can go to its highest setting, wherein you can actually have one pedal driving, because it really slows you down. The advantage of that is that even when using regenerative braking, what it does is, it will actually recharge your batteries very slightly while you're braking. Moreover, what I've noticed about the vehicle is that the seating position is very decent, because you're seating slightly higher because of the battery packs underneath you, and you don't have a lot of blind spots around you. The mirrors are nice and large, and the windscreen is nice and large, that allows you to see outside very clearly. Last but not least, what I'm actually impressed about the car is the fact that although it's a compact car, it handles pretty well, it brakes pretty well, and the overall package is pretty decent. The only thing you need to be mindful of is the charging. And as an overall package, it is pretty impressive. The only thing you need to be mindful of is the range. Now let's move to the verdict. Now, after spending my fair time with the Tiago.ev, I have come to realize that anybody looking to buy their first electric vehicle, this makes a lot of sense, because one, the hatchback bit is definitely a good thing for the city, and second, electric vehicles means cost savings. You're saving nearly 60 to 70,000 rupees per year is what Tata claims. You can be saving more depending on how you drive the car. The only thing that I mentioned is the fact that yes, range anxiety is going to be something that you are going to experience if you take this car out for a long drive, but a real world range of around 250 to 280 kilometers makes a lot of sense. If you're using this, that means you're charging it once or twice a week. With that, if you look down, I'm going to mention the pricing down below. This actually is a very attractive car for anybody looking to buy their first vehicle, or for the matter, looking to step into the EV sector. I am definitely going to be testing the real world range of this vehicle when I get this car again for a longer duration. Until then, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to BBC Top Gear Magazine India. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about the Tiago.ev, and if other manufacturers should launch EV vehicles as well. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.